Good afternoon to everyone present here. My name is Samuel Lalongpui of class 6, and today I will tell you guys a story. A story about a boy with a gentle heart. On a rainy afternoon, Max was walking home from school when he heard a faint whimper behind a shop. Curious, Max went to look. There, shivering in the corner, was a tiny puppy covered in mud. The tiny puppy looked up at Max with sad, tired eyes. Max felt sorry for the puppy and slowly he held out his hand. He took off his sweater and wrapped it around the dog, carrying the dog through the rain. He was drenched too. When he reached home, his parents frowned. But after seeing the puppy wagging its tail weakly, they allowed Max to keep it. Max named the puppy Shadow. Days later, Max noticed a limping cat near the market. Another time, he found a bird with a broken wing in the park. Slowly, his small room became shelter for these animals. The neighbors laughed at him, saying that he could not save them all. But Max was never bothered by their words. He would simply smile and say, even if I can't save them all, I could save the ones he met. But then, one summer, the town faced a problem. Stray dogs were wandering around and the people grew scared. Some even wanted to chase them away. But Max, however, stood before the townspeople, telling them that they did not need to punish the dogs, but that the animals needed care. He explained that if people fed them, treated them kindly, and gave them space, the animals would not cause harm. Max showed the townspeople how the strays he had rescued were friendly and loyal to him, and they were surprised to see that the animals trusted Max completely. With his efforts, the townspeople built a shelter where animals could be fed and treated. Slowly, the streets were safer and the animals were healthier. Max was known as the boy with a gentle heart, but he never bragged about it. He would simply smile and say, "The animals saved me too, because when I care for them, I feel stronger and kinder inside." The end. So the moral of the story is that caring for those who cannot speak is always better than not caring them and letting them just stay on the road. Thank you.
A very pleasant afternoon to everyone present here. My name is Joanna Laramwati of class 6, and today I'll be telling you a story about a boy who has autism and often got bullied and could not study well. Growing up was really difficult for him as he couldn't connect with others. But one day in 4th grade, Peter's class got a new transfer student named Adam. So Adam was a kind-hearted person who could easily make friends. During lunch break, Adam saw Peter eating alone in the cafeteria. Adam sat next to him. Peter was so startled by this, as no one had ever wanted to sit near him. They talked during the break, and Peter told him about his disability and how people avoided being near him. Adam felt really bad and said he would be his friend. After a while, they became best friends. They went home together, walked home together, and even had sleepovers together. Years later, they eventually went to the same high school. But not long after they joined high school, a boy named Edward, who was a bully, noticed Peter's disability and started making fun of him. He said all kinds of cruel things to him. Adam tried to step up for Peter but was too scared at first. So Peter was left to face it all by himself, while Adam just sat in the corner and watched him get humiliated. Not knowing what to do after that, they went home together. They don't say anything or didn't even try to make eye contact. And the bully still kept on tormenting Peter. One day, while Adam and Peter were eating in the cafeteria, Edward walked up to them and he suddenly flipped Peter's lunchbox right in front of him. The bully laughed while Peter cried. There, Adam finally had enough. He suddenly snapped, grabbed Edward's collar, and shoved him to the side. Edward was shocked by his behavior, so he stood up, walked up to Peter, and suddenly punched him in the eye. Adam stumbled backwards, but Peter got him on time. And before Edward could do anything else, the teachers took him away. After that, they prepared an ice pack for Adam's bruises. There, Adam apologized for not standing up for him earlier. The end. So, the moral of the story is always stand up for your loved ones, friends, or even strangers, even if it means getting yourself hurt. Thank you.
Good afternoon to you all. My name is Abigail Malsum Kimi. I am from class 7 and I'll be telling you a story about Abyss and Philia and on their path to success with each other. In a small town, there lived two girls named Abyss who loved writing poetry and Philia who had a talent for arts. They would often get praised in school for their wonderful work. But they had one problem. Their families thought that their talents was just a distraction from their studies and would often force them to study late at night just to get good grades. They were annoyed of it, but they still wanted to make their families happy. So they would study beforehand, tests, exams, quizzes, etc. to make time for their work. One day, as Abyss and Ophelia was walking down the stairs, they were stopped by a teacher who told them that there was a competition being held. For poetry and arts. They immediately signed up. And as the day of the competition came, they were nervous yet excited. They went into their separate buildings and gave it their all. After they left out of the buildings, they laughed at each other, not in a bad way, but in a good way. They also wanted their results immediately, but they had to wait a whole month for it. After a few days, they completely forgot about the results. But when the day of the results came, they were shocked to hear that they were one of the toppers in the competition. Their families were also proud of them and they threw a party for them, which they celebrated happily. A few days passed after the results. Some famous people contacted them and asked them if they could publish their work to the whole world. They agreed. Abby's poetry was published on social media, which a lot of people loved. And Philia's art was placed in a simple museum, which was then auctioned later. The person who bought Philia's art loved it and wanted more of it. So he contacted her and requested her to make more. That was the start of their success together. They later on became famous, mostly for their work, but also for their friendship. The end. The moral of this story is follow your dreams, even when the people who you were closest to and the people who love don't support you. And success stays even sweeter when it is achieved with a great friend. That's all.
A very good afternoon to everyone present here today. My name is Christina Zotenpui and I'm from class 7. Today I will be sharing you guys a story about a girl named Carla and how she became friends with her now best friend Alice. About 2 weeks ago, the summer holiday had officially ended and everyone was already back in school. Carla had just started a new school and she was an outgoing little girl, so she had no problems making new friends. She especially liked this girl named Penny, and they even sat together. But one day, the teacher decided that she should change their seats as they would talk to each other way too much inside the class. Penny changed seats with this girl named Alice, who was basically on the other side of the classroom. Alice was this tall girl. She was considered a bit weird by her peers and wasn't the ideal type of girl who you'd call smart or tidy or clean. While on the other hand, Carla was a person who cared very much about her grades, cleanliness and tidiness. So the two didn't get along very well. But Carla continued to hang out with Penny and they were still good friends. One day, the teacher assigned a group project. Carla and Penny were to be placed in one group. But with good news comes bad ones. The thing is, their group project needed three members, in which, as luck would have it, Carla, Penny, and Alice were placed in the same group. The three of them didn't have great teamwork, but but they were able to finish their project. Penny took lead of the group project and they even contributed some money. Their project was to make a tiny little working house for their school. So they contributed money and bought stuff that they will use for the project. The day of submission came and they submitted the project. Carla asked Penny, was there any money left? To which Penny replied, no. But the thing is, they contributed quite a lot of money and didn't use a lot, so there should be some money left. Carla decided that she should calculate her own money, and then she found out that there should be some money left. So Carla decided that the best thing to do would be to consult Alice and confront Penny together. They gathered some proof and confronted her, to which Penny denied, lied and lied again and again. So the two decided to just give it up and let it go and be the bigger person. Alice and Carla, being seatmates, gradually became good friends and shared many new, exciting, sometimes sad, and many fun experiences together. So moral of the story is, friendships can bloom from really unexpected places. Thank you.
Greeting. Greetings to everyone present in this room. My name is Carol Vandalveni Kyangte. I am currently studying in class 8. Today I will be sharing a short story about a greedy king. Like I've mentioned, the title of the story is A Greedy King. Long, long ago, there lived a king with a rich land and a beautiful wife who was pregnant with their first child. But unfortunately for him, he was a greedy king. So one day he went up to the mountaintop and prayed for 7 days straight. On the 8th day, the demon appeared before him. "What do you want?" the demon asked. "I want all the richness of the world," the king replied. The demon was interested by the offer, but then asked, "If I grant you this wish, what will I get in return?" The king paused for a while and then replied, "I shall give you my firstborn child." So the king returned to his palace without telling anyone about the agreement he had made with the king. That following day, the wife felt immense pain through her body and had to go into an early labor. The doctors and nurses rushed into the chambers to deliver the baby. But after a moment, the nurse's horrific scream echoed through the chambers. The king rushed into the chamber. "Is the baby all right?" the king asked. The nurse replied, "The king is alive, Your Highness, but it does not have any body nor a nose." The wife, who was horrified of the horrible features of the baby, passed out in an instant. The king immediately told the nurse to kill the baby. But that following night, the demon appeared before the king, asking for the payment. But the king, unable to pay the price, was killed in an instant. Moral of the story is, greed will never bring you prosperity. It will only bring you corruption. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bisilang Isaka, and I'm here to tell you a story about a selfless messenger. The fair breeze blew as the messenger of a far distant kingdom was on his way to deliver an ongoing war about in his own kingdom. The king of the messenger's kingdom was in a terrible war with another kingdom, and to assist him in his desperate situation, he called his messenger to ask for help for the kingdom of the north. the messenger, being faithful to the king as always, fulfilled his wish and immediately set out. But there's a problem. To get to the kingdom of the north, you had to cross this deep, dark forest, which was surprisingly massive as well. So the messenger decided it was best to camp in the forest for a day or two. Meanwhile, the kingdom was at its worst. The king had lost all hope and had fallen into despair. The king set out his son to be the kingdom's only survivor. 2 days had passed. The messenger finally decided it was time to set out. But then he heard a rustling sound that startled him. When he turned back, he saw a mysterious person who was actually the prince. The messenger did not know that the prince was actually that mysterious person. He was hungry, he was pale, he was starving, so he helped him out with all that he can, even though he did not know the prince's identity. The prince decided not to reveal his identity and to find out the true nature of the messenger. Since the prince and the messenger both had the same goals to reach the palace, they worked together and reached the palace. And at the end, the kingdom of the north agreed and the war finally came to an end. When the king heard about what the messenger did for his son, he rewarded the messenger with a high post in the administration and wealth that would last him a lifetime. The moral of the story is to never be greedy and to be always selfless.